Hi, welcome to my review of Steven Spielberg's Lincoln, starring Daniel Day-Lewis. Before I start this review, I want to kind of give you an insight on how my experience was seeing this film. During about a quarter into the film just goes black. Complete silence, complete blackness, just goes out. So a couple of people, I guess, go and tell the employees what's going on. So we wait for about 10 minutes. The manager shows up and he kind of says, that they're fixing it, they're working on it. And so about 5 minutes after that, the screen pops back on. But it's at the very beginning of the film. So then we have to wait about another 5 minutes for them to fast forward it. And while it's fast forwarding, it's like a slideshow. We're just seeing scene to scene to scene, and it's just fast forwarding. So as the film is fast forwarding, we go over the spot where the film cut off, and it just keeps on going. Now we're 20 minutes past from where we need to be, so then they have to backtrack all the way back to where we should be at. And while that's happening, the manager comes in, he's talking on his cell phone to the guy in the projection room, telling them, basically what's up. And so, eventually we get that all situated, and so that all takes about 20 minutes. And even then, we're probably 5 minutes, too far back. But anyway, there's no big deal, whatever. So then the movie, continues. And while it's going on for about 10 minutes, the lights are still on. So we have to wait for those to dim. And eventually everything was okay. But towards the last 20 minutes of the film, I guess since everything was off schedule, the cleanup crew, they came in about 20 minutes before they should have. So while the film is trying to wrap itself up, I see this dude just standing there, right in my peripheral vision, and it's bothering the hell out of me because I'm sitting pretty much on the floor, right where the exit's at. So every time someone has to go take a piss, I know when they're taking a piss because everyone just kind of walks. Although it wasn't that bad, I went and saw Skyfall last week and I had to sit on the same spot and it was horrible. But this crowd wasn't as bad. But anyway, there's this dude he's just standing there, and I'm like, part of me is looking at him because I'm just is he gonna do something? Because every move that he made, my eyes went straight for him, and so that bothered the hell out of me. So overall, my experience was shit. Okay, so now back on track. Lincoln is what I thought Lincoln was going to be about the story of Lincoln's life. However, it's not really about that. It's actually about the 13th Amendment, him trying to get it passed and, abolish slavery. And that's really what the film is about. And so if you're expecting some sort of film about Lincoln, you're not going to really get that. I also want to mention, in the trailer, there are shots of war. Those are in the film, but they're in the film for maybe a minute. So don't go into this film thinking you're going to see some action, because you're not going to get that at all. What you are going to get is a lot of talking. And by talking, I mean by political talk, because that's all you're going to get. The whole film is about the 13th Amendment. I cannot stress that enough. The entire film is about the 13th Amendment. So everything revolves around that pretty much. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you're probably going to enjoy the film. If you're not, you're probably going to be bored out of your mind. One thing I want to talk about is the cinematography. Although I do think cinematography is good, the picture is washed out. I guess they used a filter that just sort of kind of gave everything this palish look. And it was just kind of weird because maybe that was intentional, maybe it wasn't, I'm not sure, because, since the film deals with slavery, maybe the film was just trying to say, hey, we're all the same. But, either way, there's a scene in the film where they ask this black man of how, slavery is, how he was treated. And I remember looking at it and going, wait, is he black? And I had to kind of look at it and judge it for a minute. And I was like, well, oh, yeah, he is. I the filter. It's everything just looks so pale. I couldn't even tell, the color of his skin. And like I said, maybe that was intentional. If it was, I do think that's brilliant. However, the paleness of everything just sort of, I don't know, it kind of started hurting my eyes a little bit. If I had to compare it to anything, it's kind of like the Harry Potter films, how everything just looks extremely pale. And I don't know, in my opinion, although I do think it fits in the Harry Potter films, to me that's always looked kind of cheap. I don't know, that's just me though. Another thing I want to mention is the film itself. The film does not feel like a Steven Spielberg film. In fact, it doesn't even feel like a movie I should be watching on the big screen. In fact, it feels like a movie I should be watching on the TV. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. There are some great TV movies, but in more, I guess to be more specific, it feels like a movie I should be watching on HBO, like it's an HBO original movie. And like I said, that's not a bad thing. Some movies aren't meant to be in the theater, and I just didn't really feel like this. I mean, apart from it having Steven Spielberg's name and having the extraordinary cast, it probably could have been an HBO film. Now I want to talk about the acting. As far as acting goes, it's 100% flawless. There is not a bad performance in this film. However, there are some standouts like Daniel Day-Lewis, Sally Field, and Tommy Lee Jones. They are incredible. And one thing I want to say is Daniel Day-Lewis looks exactly like Lincoln. It's kind of creepy actually looking at him, because you would think it's you'd actually think it's Abraham Lincoln. But it's Daniel Day-Lewis. But, that's how great Daniel Day-Lewis is. He's a complete chameleon. Overall, Lincoln is a very, very, very good film. Do I think it's a great film? Not really. Do I think it's one of the best movies of the year? No. However, I do think it is one of the better films of the year. And I'm not quite sure just yet if I'm going to put it in my top 10 list. It feels like a movie I should, but overall, I just didn't really enjoy it, I guess. Again, it's not a movie that's meant to be enjoyed. It's not a movie that's meant to be entertaining. So, I mean, I'm fine with that. It's just, if someone were to ask me would I watch this movie again, like I said, if it came on HBO, if I saw it and I was flipping through the channels, I saw it, would I stop and watch the entire thing? And I guess my answer would be no. However, Lincoln is a very well made film, and I had to give it points for that, as well as the incredible acting. So I'm going to give my rating now. I'm going to give Lincoln a very enthusiastic 3.5 out of 5. If you're someone that's into history, you're an historian, you should go check out this film. If you're not, go see it for the great performances. And if that doesn't interest you, then probably skip it. Overall, it's a pretty good film. Thanks for watching.